1981, archaeologists confirmed the oldest monumental construction site in North America. The Smithsonian held the report for 11 years. While it sat unpublished, the land was quietly rezoned. Someone did not want this story told. 5,400 years ago, in what is now northeastern Louisiana, people built something that should not exist. 11 earthen mounds arranged in a precise oval, connected by a raised ridge system, covering roughly 900 feet in diameter. No agriculture, no permanent settlement, no centralized authority, at least none that conventional archaeology was prepared to accept. According to everything the field believed about how civilizations develop, these people were not supposed to be capable of this. Watson Brake sits in the Ouachita River floodplain, unassuming from the ground. The mounds rise between 3 and 25 feet. They are not accidental landforms. The geometry is deliberate. The labor required to move that volume of earth, coordinated across seasons and possibly generations, demands a level of social organization that archaeologists had reserved exclusively for agricultural societies. Hunter-gatherers, the established model insisted, were too mobile, too scattered, too focused on survival to build anything meant to last. Watson Brake lasted 5 millennia. Archaeologist Joe Saunders began serious investigation of the site in the late 1980s. What the excavations revealed was unambiguous. Radiocarbon dating placed the construction firmly in the Middle Archaic period, predating Poverty Point, long considered the anchor of ancient Louisiana prehistory, by nearly 2,000 years. This was not a minor revision to the timeline. This was a demolition of the foundational assumptions underpinning North American archaeological history. The people who built Watson Brake did so without pottery, without domesticated crops, and without the social blueprint that the academic consensus said was required. The findings were submitted, then they waited. The excavation report entered institutional channels connected to the Smithsonian and did not emerge for 11 years. 11 years during which the dominant narrative remained unchallenged in textbooks, museum exhibits, and academic curricula. 11 years during which Watson Brake's surrounding land designations shifted. The delay was never formally explained. No procedural bottleneck was ever publicly identified. The research simply existed in a kind of enforced silence, while the field it would have upended continued operating as though it had never been produced. When the findings were finally published in Science in 1997, they confirmed everything Saunders had documented. The oldest known monumental earthworks in North America, hidden in plain sight, buried twice, once by time and once by the people who were supposed to tell you about it. Watson Brake was not discovered by accident. The site had been known to locals for generations, embedded in the landscape of Ouachita Parish. Like a scar, the earth refused to close. 11 oval mounds connected by ridges, covering roughly 900 feet in diameter, arranged with a geometric precision that has no casual explanation. When archaeologist Joe Saunders and his team formally confirmed the dating in the early 1990s, the numbers came back devastating to the accepted model. Radiocarbon analysis placed construction between 3,500 and 2,800 BCE. That predates Poverty Point by nearly 2,000 years. It predates Stonehenge's final phase. It predates the pyramids of Giza, and it was built by people who, according to every textbook in circulation at the time, were supposed to be too primitive, too scattered, too survival-focused to organize anything more complex than a seasonal camp. The problem was not the dating. The dating was solid. The problem was what the dating meant. Hunter-gatherers in the established academic framework do not build monuments. They do not coordinate multi-generational construction projects. They do not engineer connected ridge systems with intentional elevation gradients. The organizational capacity required to move the volume of earth at Watson Brake, without agriculture, without a permanent food surplus, without the hierarchical social structures archaeologists had always assumed were prerequisites for monumental architecture. That capacity was not supposed to exist. The discovery did not fit, and things that do not fit have a way of disappearing quietly into filing cabinets. Saunders had submitted his findings. The excavation reports moved into Smithsonian channels and then effectively stopped moving. 11 years passed. 11 years during which the most significant prehistoric construction site in North American history sat documented but unpublished, known inside institutional walls but invisible to the broader academic community and entirely invisible to the public. Colleagues who inquired were told the reports were under review for 11 years. Meanwhile, Watson Brake itself was quietly rezoned. Agricultural designations shifted. The legal protections that should have surrounded a site of this magnitude were not in place. The land was worked. Portions of the surrounding area were altered. Whether by negligence or design, the window for comprehensive excavation was narrowing while the paperwork gathered dust in Washington. What makes the suppression pattern recognizable is not any single decision. It is the accumulation, the delay in publication, the absence of federal site protection during the delay, the rezoning that occurred precisely within the gap. The fact that when Saunders finally published in 1997 in the journal Science, the findings landed like a controlled detonation, reshaping the entire timeline of North American prehistory overnight, which raises an obvious question. If the evidence was always this strong, if peer review ultimately confirmed everything Saunders documented, then what exactly was being reviewed for 11 years? What needed that much time? The Smithsonian has never provided a detailed accounting of why the report stalled. Requests for internal correspondence related to the Watson Brake findings have not produced meaningful disclosure. The institution's public posture has been one of procedural normalcy. Nothing to see? Just the pace of science. The anomalies embedded in the site itself compound the institutional silence. The mounds are not uniform in height. They range from 3 to 25 feet. But their placement follows a pattern that accounts for natural topography in ways that suggest surveying, not accident. The connecting ridges maintain consistent widths. The oval formation is oriented in a manner some researchers have connected to solar and lunar sightlines, though that interpretation remains contested. What is not contested is that the people who built Watson Brake returned to the site repeatedly across generations, that they transported specific materials from distances that required planning and coordination, and that they did all of this while maintaining a mobile, hunter-gatherer existence. The civilization model that requires agriculture as a precondition for complexity did not survive Watson Brake. The institutions built on that model had 11 years to decide what to do about that before the rest of the world found out. Watson Brake did not fit. That was the problem. 11 earthen mounds arranged in a deliberate oval, connected by ridges, constructed with intention and sustained effort across generations. And the people who built it were not supposed to be capable of it. Every framework archaeology had built around social complexity said you needed agriculture, permanent settlement, hierarchical leadership before you could organize labor at that scale. Watson Brake existed 5,400 years before the present and demolished every one of those assumptions simultaneously. The excavation reports confirmed it. The radiocarbon dates confirmed it. And then the findings were handed to the Smithsonian Institution, where they sat unpublished for 11 years while the professional consensus that depended on the old framework remained safely intact. What was buried here was not just a site, it was a forced rewrite of how civilization is supposed to work. The builders of Watson Brake were mobile hunter-gatherers with no domesticated crops, no evidence of rigid social hierarchy, and no reason, by accepted theory, to cooperate on a project requiring millions of pounds of carefully placed earth. Yet they did it. They returned seasonally to a Louisiana floodplain, organized themselves across something we do not yet have a name for, and raised a monument complex that predates Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids. When Smithsonian-affiliated researchers finally allowed publication in 1997, they framed it carefully, minimized its implications, and moved on. Meanwhile, the site had already been rezoned. Development pressure had crept to its edges. The urgency that should have surrounded a discovery of this magnitude was quietly replaced by administrative silence. The reason this was suppressed is the same reason it is always suppressed. Watson Brake does not just challenge a theory, it challenges the institutions built on that theory. Museums, universities, entire careers are structured around the agricultural threshold model of civilization. A site that proves complex organized society existed without it is not an exciting discovery to those institutions. It is a liability, so they delayed, they minimized, and they let time do the rest. The site is now listed, partially protected, and mostly forgotten outside specialist circles. The implications have never been absorbed into the broader cultural understanding of who built this continent and how far back that story actually goes. Tell us in the comments what you think was really behind that 11-year delay. Was it institutional inertia, deliberate suppression, or something they still have not told us? If you want the stories archaeology textbooks leave out, subscribe to What They Buried. Every week we dig up another story they hoped you would never find.